Honestly, staying consistent to who I am when everyone changes up, and staying dedicated when it seemed like I wasn't getting anywhere in a career field. So I got my master's, and it took almost 5.5 years for me to actually land a job. And I come from a Middle Eastern family where the pressure to be in a career is very high. And granted, most people think, oh, if you're a female, you just need to go get married and get married off and this or that. But my dad is very different. He's very much education first. He wants to make sure that if anything ever happened to him, that we are taken care of, we can fend for ourselves, that kind of thing. And it was just disheartening to come home and just feel like I wasn't reaching that benchmark. A lot of dead ends, a lot of interviews, a lot of rejections throughout those 5 years. I think I, at one point for 4 months straight, was applying to 60 jobs a day and wasn't hearing anything back. So just, biggest challenge has been trusting myself through any situation that I get myself into, that I know what's best. My instinct will never lead me astray. Like, I've got a good mental compass, moral compass on me that I can navigate through most situations.
Did you feel pressure from your parents at home, or were you putting that pressure on yourself because you felt like they were expecting this out of you? Were they voicing that, or were you feeling like, I'm not?
It was me.
Okay.
It was always me putting it on myself and anticipating that that's what they were thinking. Even when my dad would vocally come and say, I'm so proud of what you've done and where you're at, I always felt like it just wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely something that I put on myself.
Do you feel like you put that kind of pressure on yourself in other aspects of your life? Do you hold yourself to certain pedestals where you're just
I definitely do. And that's why I say mental health is such a big thing. It wasn't, I'm not ashamed of this. I started therapy about 3 months ago for no particular reason, just because, someone suggested that, and it's becoming more of an awareness thing that so I started it, and honestly, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Right.
Because you hear yourself talk and you hear the thoughts that you're saying, and all of a sudden, you're figuring it out for yourself, and it almost strengthens your inner voice to listen to yourself and trust yourself. It's a great tool, and it's interesting that NBA is implementing a awareness of this by having therapists work for teams and making it a mandatory thing for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that most professional sports need to do that. I think
for sure.
Anybody, whether it's some random person out on the street or some random person here, should look into some sort of health, mental wellness. It's very important.
I just started therapy 4 weeks ago.
Really?
So I'm right there with you. I think it's great. I think everyone should get therapy.
That's awesome.
What is one of the hardest conversations you've ever had to have?
Ooh. So we live in a world now that, for dating, that it's just so convenient that, people give up so easily when times get rough between them, because you've got Instagram, you've got, Facebook, you've got access to all these people that it's I don't need to deal with this because I have access, and I can numb the pain, do this, whatever it is that you feel like you need to do.
Right.
And I don't operate like that. You hear people say I was born in a different generation, I should have been born 20 years ago for relationships, this and this. I get that, but I think I was dealing with someone, and I just had to sit down and actually tell them, I'm just not feeling this, I'm not feeling you, I don't know what I've been doing for the last few months, but this isn't it, and I don't want to waste your time anymore. And just being very truthful, because I want someone to be that truthful with me. That was a rough conversation, but I almost felt like I'd rather it be rough in the immediate moment than to drag someone along, which is, I feel, what happens a lot nowadays. And that was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had to have. And honestly, the other one was when I found my grandmother passed away in the house, and I had to call my mom and be the one to tell her that. That was also a hard conversation. So between those two.
Yeah. Do you feel like when it comes to some hard conversations, like with friends or family, that you'll send it through text message, or are you somebody that's like, we need to talk in person? Like, you know how a lot of people don't know how to communicate these days, so like put storybooks in text messages.
For sure, yeah. I'd rather communicate in person. I'm sure everybody has, you know, sent a text that says this and someone interprets it the other way.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to, you know, I could tell you have an attitude just based off this text. How can you tell?
Right.
You know what I mean?
You don't
like,
hear my tone.
you don't, yeah, exactly. You can anticipate or assume that that's what my tone is. So I'm definitely the person who wants to have that conversation in person, and meet up and have that connection. Obviously, there are going to be times where meeting up is not possible. So FaceTime or a phone conversation, but I think text should be the last form of communication that gets handled with a difficult conversation. Okay. It's more about respect. Like, you have respect of the situation, of the person, and of yourself to just be able to have that conversation.
Sure.